After 500 years of training, a fox spirit comes to the human world and must face a monstrous frog and other demons to get the white elixir and transform into the legendary nine-tailed fox. Today, we will recap the story of Soul Snatcher from 2020 in the spectral world of fox spirits. These beings constantly assume human form and come to our world to obtain the essences of soul elixirs, which can transform them into powerful foxes with up to 8 tails, or the most desired and legendary of all the nine-tailed Kyuubi. After 1,000 years, the time has finally come for the spectral beings to come to our world in search of the legendary white elixir. When the Kyuubi candidates are gathering to come to the human world, Shazam, a spirit who is constantly teased by others for being only half fox, finds a broken invitation stone on the ground and tries to use it to attend the ceremony. However, the guardian quickly notices and humiliates him in front of the others, unable to enter. The young man climbs the rocks and begins to watch the ceremony from above after giving his speech. The elder and current nine-tailed fox asks the students to go up and touch the mystical fireplace that leaves a symbol in the palm of the hand, indicating to the spirit where it will find his elixir, but the object does not react to candidates, indicating that someone is missing. Believing it might be his chance to become a Kyuubi, Shazam volunteers to touch the fireplace, along with the other students. And after messing up and slipping on the rocks, he is still very excited, and joins the rest of the group when he finally puts his hands on the object. The thing starts to react, and marks the palm of each of them. But when looking at his, the young man realizes that it was not marked, thinking there was some mistake. Shazam puts his hand on the fireplace once more, but this time his arm is sucked into the object, and when he finally manages to get it out, he notices that the mark came out incomplete, forming only a pair of ears after being mocked for another failure. Shazam meets with the elder to talk, and is a way of helping him. In his difficult task, the leader gives him a legendary knife that has the power to kill demons and other monsters. In addition to this help, Shazam steals the Yinwick Sai from the elder, which is a kind of device with an imprisoned sage spirit that helps its wielder, knowing that Shazam is not the brightest of spirits. The elder orders that guard who mocked him to follow him to protect him until he finds the elixir in the human world. The young man, who had never tasted any human food, starts to devour a whole chicken, as if he were a real fox, while Shisan is eating. A young student named Wang Zijin is walking around the city on his donkey, looking for a man. He then reaches out to Shisan and shows the painting of Doran, his older brother, asking if Shisan has seen him anywhere, wanting to finish his meal in peace. Shisan chases the boy away and continues eating, but Wixie reminds him of his goal and says he should start looking for the ears that the fireplace indicated. While looking for those ears, the confused spirit gets into an accident and falls into a donkey rental tent, scaring the animals and making them run away. However, during the confusion, he also frightens Wang's donkey, who in fear starts running towards him. The donkey then begins to carry Shazam out of town while being chased by Wang. But as they are passing near where the fox spirit was eating, a mysterious shaman who had just cured a boy puts a strange mark on the student's back after being carried for a long distance. Shazam is knocked off by the donkey and continues his journey normally, but is pursued by Wang, who wants his animal back. After a long time of pursuit, they get lost in the middle of the forest and find a small building where they decide to spend the night. While talking to Wang, Shazam finally realizes that the ear that was marked on his hand could be the donkey, and so he comes to the conclusion that Wang is the one who will grant him his soul elixir. Trying to get closer to the student and convince him to give him his elixir, Shazam starts talking to Wang about his life, discovering that the boy is from a very poor village and wants to take the royal exam to be able to enter the government and thus change the lives of the people of village. After a long time of talking, Wang falls asleep, and during the night Shazam is visited by the guardian spirit that the elder sent, and as a way to avoid wasting time hunting the donkey, the young man manages to convince his protector to transform himself into the animal and stay that way until the end of the journey. As dawn breaks, Wang realizes that Shazam has managed to retrieve his donkey and decides to continue his long walk to the imperial city. After walking for several miles, they decide to stop at an inn and rest until dawn. During the night, Wang, who fell asleep in the middle of his studies, wakes up scared and starts looking for his friend, but the only thing he finds is a strange local employee who calls him and points to the water while giving a very suspicious laugh while watching the reflection of the small pool. The young man notices that the strange man has completely disappeared, and soon after he is pulled by a giant tongue into the water. Upon reaching the other side, Wang finds several bodies completely paralyzed in what appears to be a pile of wax. While watching all those motionless people, the young man feels something sticky on his back, and when he looks back, he realizes that it is the tongue that pulled him to that dimension of a gigantic mutant frog. Totally scared, Wang tries to run, but his leg is held by the creature's tongue that knocks him to the ground and starts dragging it to his mouth to devour him. But suddenly, Shazan falls from the ceiling right on top of the frog, which releases its victim on impact, trying to get rid of the nasty creature. The spirit takes its tongue and wraps it around the wooden pillars, starting a true tug-of-war with the frog. During the dispute, they end up knocking down the pilasters that make the roof collapse, trying to devour them. The huge frog begins to gather a large amount of air inside, and then blows at them, throwing them against the wall and shooting debris towards the duo. To the boys' misfortune, this ended up removing the slimy layer that was immobilizing those people who look more like zombies. Finally free, the creatures begin to hunt the duo, who, realizing that they are being followed, hide behind a wall and try to make as little noise as possible. But the crazy frog uses its tongue like a snake and manages to locate them. Seeing that sticky thing near his face, Wang goes into shock and starts screaming, thus giving away the location of his hiding place. About to be cornered, they try to jump back into the water to return to their dimension, but they realize that the liquid is now completely gelatinous, so they can't cross it. At that moment, the evil frog again uses its tongue to catch Shazam and devours him as if he were an insect. Frightened, Wang starts to run desperately, and believing that the student has run away, Shazam gets out of the frog that soon takes on a human form. That's right. It was all fake. Wanting to win, the young students trust the fox spirit asked his frogman friend to create this whole scenario for him to be the hero who saved Wang and thus get the elixir more easily. But it all went wrong. Turns out the boy didn't run away. He just went to get some explosives in a torch so he could save his friend upon realizing that Wang is returning. The frogman transforms again and swallows Shazam again. Trying to save his companion, the young student starts burning the frog's tongue with his torch, and as a way of defending himself, the shapeshifter starts sucking everything around him once again. But it was a bad idea. He ends up sucking the torch in the explosives, causing a real explosion inside him that makes Shazam to be thrown out. Like a cannonball, as he approaches his friend, Long notices that he has a rather furry tail and dog ears. The injury partially activating his fox form, with Season's entire plan being frustrated. The Guardian decides to intervene and hits one of Wang's vital points, that instantly passes out. After confirming that everyone is passed out, the Guardian spirit takes them to a boat, and while Wang is still passed out, he tells Shazam that he has a trap set at an inn in Jiangkong to get the elixir. When Wang wakes up, the fox spirit puts the plan into action, and as soon as they arrive in the Imperial City, they go to the inn that the Guardian indicated. However, upon arriving there, the staff immediately drag the student to Yinglian's room. It turns out that this woman is actually a ghost whose soul is trapped in a lotus, and as she can walk freely between the human world and the fox world, she has the ability to see people's essence and therefore also their elixir. So the Guardian asks Yinglian to seduce Wang and see what kind of elixir he has in the bedroom. The young student falls completely in love with the girl in front of him. Without imagining that she is a ghost during the encounter, the clumsy Wang ends up cutting himself. And when Yinglian approaches and touches the boy's back, the mark that the shaman left suddenly lights up and repels the woman, throwing her away, apparently the mark the mysterious healer placed as a protection against ghosts, although her job is only to seduce him and verify his essence. Yinglian also falls in love with the boy, who promises to marry her if he can pass the Imperial exam, and knowing that the person dies when she has the elixir removed from her body. The girl lies to Shazan, saying that she couldn't see the boy's essence upon learning of Yinglian's failure. The Guardian becomes furious and begins crushing the lotus that contains her soul as a way of punishing her, almost taking her life. Without imagining what happened to his beloved Wang, goes to take the long-awaited royal exam, but during the exam, Yinglian appears in ghost form and removes Shizan's soul from his body to talk. She then reveals that there is another ghost there that devours the essence of the men who are taking the exam, and that this specter removed Wang's soul to devour it also. She reveals that Wang's elixir is white, saying that he could take the opportunity to get it. After Yinglian leaves his body, Shazan totally ignores the elixir and goes to Wang to save him. However, the ghost takes the form of his brother Doran and manages to imprison them, trying to save his friend, the fox. Spirit uses his legendary weapon to try to escape imprisonment, but it was all a trap. Doran's evil ghost then sucks Wang Zijin's soul into a kind of purgatory, where hundreds of other student souls are devoured. Doran's ghost then begins to suck Wang's soul, but is touched by the boy's essence and gives up consuming it. It turns out that more than a decade ago, Doran went to the Imperial City to take the same test and decided to take his life after failing several times. With that, he turned into this evil specter. But upon contacting his younger brother's soul, he begins to remember the time he was alive and how he loved Wang, thus giving up his attack. But before finally going to the afterlife, Doran tells his younger brother to watch out for the old fox that is following him just to take the elixir of the soul that was in his body. Believing that his brother was talking about Shazam, Wang returns to the human world and tells Shazam that he would willingly give him his elixir, But before that, he goes to Yinglian and declares himself to her, revealing that he already knows that she actually is. It's a ghost. Moved by the young man's passion, the girl accepts to stay with him and decides to run away, but they are pursued by Shazam, believing he wants to kill them. Yinglian starts attacking the young man and possesses his body, trying to make him take his own life. But because he is very fond of his friend, Wang tries to protect him at all costs, saying that he has already agreed to deliver his elixir to him. The England then begins to suffocate the fox spirit and reveals to his lover that by extracting the elixir from someone, the wielder ends up losing his life as Ying Glian was about to kill Shazam. The frogman appeared behind her and stabbed the elder's dagger through her belly to save his friend. However, as this weapon has such powerful effects as to eliminate even demons, the girl ends up losing her life, finally being free from her prison here on Earth, completely furious over losing his lover, and with his best friend's lies, Long begins beating up Shazam, who refuses to fight back. After all the confusion, the fox spirit apologizes for everything and uses the dagger to try to take his life. But when the blade touches his body, he is pulled back to the spirit dimension by Zhong the shaman, who placed the protection seal on Wang's back. Upon meeting Shazam again, the elder begins to convince him to fulfill his destiny and take the Adbia elixir, no matter how painful it is, and after a difficult conversation, the boy decides to return to the human world, where he finds Wang in the middle of a bamboo forest. He then begins to apologize for having lied, but the boy simply takes his life with the elder's dagger and willingly gives him his elixir, not realizing that this was not Shazam but the guardian. When the real Shazam arrives in the forest, he sees his best friend's body being dragged away, as if it were a garbage bag in his elixir that was actually dark being thrown on the ground. As if it was nothing. Upon seeing this scene, the young spirit is enraged and goes after the guardian, as he's just an apprentice. Shazam doesn't have a chance and gets beaten up a lot, but when he sees the guardian mocking Wang's death, he goes into full burst mode and starts giving his enemy a real beating, but the combat quickly turns when the guardian assumes his six-tailed fox form. At a complete disadvantage, Shazam is beaten a lot in addition to being bitten and nearly dismembered, wanting to end the fight. The guardian releases Shazam's body from a really big height, pierces his chest with one of the tails, and confident that he will soon die, leaves him dying as he walks back to the spirit world. When life is about to leave Shazam's body, he starts to remember his time with Wang and touches the dark elixir. However, when he does so, the essence starts to turn white, and a great light begins to emanate from his body. He finally became a nine-tailed fox, now fully transformed into the Kyuubi Shazam, wants revenge, and rushes towards the guardian. At almost lightning speed and scratches his face, the six-tailed fox even tries to counterattack, but Shazam, in berserker mode, manages to defend himself by creating an aura of pure spiritual energy around himself and lands a powerful punch on the guardian. Not satisfied, Shazam leaps towards the guardian and rips off one of its tails, in addition to flinging it back to the ground. Knowing that he doesn't stand a chance, the six-tailed fox even tries to run away. But his head is crushed like an insect when he was about to take the guardian's life. Shazam remembers Wang and decides to let his enemy get away, after all he's been through. Shazam comes to the conclusion that his best friend's life is more important, and decides to make a deal with the gods to give up the white elixir as well as his own life to bring it back. And after saying the prayer and surrendering his powers, he then assumes the form of a small, one-tailed fox. Sometime after she's in sacrifice, Huang learns that he passed the royal exam, but gave up on becoming an official of the empire and returned to his village to be with his grandmother, but without remembering the journey he had with his companion. One day, Wang was walking in the forest when he encounters a very injured little fox, with whom he immediately forms a kind of bond, deciding to take care of the animal and keep it. The young student names him Shazan and takes him home, and so ends the legendary tale of the nine-tailed fox. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.